and then you watch the body camera and it's him going, and he kicks the door down and he goes, "Open up, motherfucker, you know what time it is?" We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about what happens and what should you do if the police come to your door. What are the circumstances where they could enter your house without a warrant? And then finally, how do you preserve your rights under these situations? And we got some crazy clips we want to check out. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And first question that we have to talk about, and this was spurred by some videos that we're going to check out, is what should you do if the police come to your door?
Nothing. Don't answer. No, I'm just kidding. But first, let's check out this video. This was posted by Mr. Guns and Gear. Thank you very much. Here we go.
Get outside now.
Nope. You got a warrant, you come on in. You got a warrant. You better have a warrant. Turn that record on. You better have a warrant. You better have a goddamn warrant. You just broke my door. You better have a warrant. You better have a warrant. Scoot over. Oh, I'm not coming outside.
All right, so we have the police standing outside the door, suspiciously asking for everyone to come out.
Yes, which, kind of makes you think they don't have something they might need.
Well, I think we know that. Let's check out clip 2.
Am I under arrest?
Come outside.
Am I under arrest?
You're going to be if you don't come outside.
So you're gonna be under arrest if you don't come outside.
Love that.
That sounds like coercion.
It does sound like coercion. That's like, you remember when we were prosecutors, we would get those cases all the time where they would like coerce the people out of their vehicles or out of their home and then arrest them for public intoxication as soon as they were.
Yeah, there's some
private.
very sad cases like that.
I know.
And the way that, the thing, sidebar, how these things read in police reports are, I escorted the person from their front door down to the ground, and then you watch the video and it's like them throwing them over the second story of an apartment complex.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys.
Closed fist compliance strike.
Yes.
Means I punched him in the guts.
Yeah, or, my favorite one, I had one, we didn't intend on talking about this,
Yeah,
but we have a guy who, he said, if you read the report, it's like, I made contact with the suspect at the entryway of their doorway. I knocked on their door, made contact with the suspect, requested consent to search the premises, at which time consent was granted. And then you watch the body camera and it's him going, and he kicks the door down and he goes, "Open up, motherfucker, you know what time it is?" It's like, how the report looks different than the video.
Yes.
I wonder what the report in this case looks like.
I wonder. So what do you do if the police are at your door? I mean, you actually can not answer. And that may be the choice that you actually want to employ depending on the circumstance. If they've got a warrant, they'll come in and get you. And if they don't, they're not going to make you answer. So we've had people, I remember I had that guy years ago call me. He was hiding underneath the bed and the police were there.
No, was it like taking you, like, yell everything out and not tell?
But then, and I'm giving him all this legal advice, and then he had like three-way called in like 4 people who I didn't know were on the line. And so he was under the bed alone, but yeah, it was a bad situation. But anyway, so you could not answer. You could choose to answer, but you need to be very, very clear about your rights and your boundaries, including not giving them consent to enter.
Yep.
If they are trying to enter. And I mean, my gosh, if you have a meth lab set up in your living room, don't open the door, because there are all sorts of ways that you can accidentally give them a reason, a legal reason to come into your home without a warrant.
Yeah, so, apart from plain view, and there's lots of exceptions to the warrant requirement, which really hurt the Fourth Amendment in my defense attorney heart. Applicable to our case here, and I think probably the natural question a lot of folks have are, when can the police enter my house without a warrant? Let's talk about similar kind of heated circumstances like this. And I don't think we've talked about the background too much, but there's an alleged assault taking place at this residence. Mm-hmm. The police say that's the reason they're out there. They make contact with the folks inside.
Yeah.
They are not consenting to coming outside.
No, weirdly, the police say they have a video of a person getting assaulted in there. How did they get that video?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Maybe.
It just seems odd.
Yeah, I'm skeptical. Skeptical until we see all this. And obviously, we're going to encounter some police misconduct in just a moment. We have a third clip for you. But, we have a pretty restatement of a pretty concise rule we have from the United States Supreme Court. This is out of Brigham City v. Stewart, 547 U.S. 398. This is from 2006. We'll throw that up on screen for those folks who are interested in checking that out. In this case, it restated a rule that the court has followed for quite a long time, but clarified, added some clarification about when can the police enter a location based on exigent circumstances. There's really two scenarios where the police get into a house for exigent circumstances without a warrant. And the first one is they have objectively reasonable basis to believe that someone has been seriously injured inside, or if they think that they are imminently threatened. There's an imminent threat of serious injury. So those are our two scenarios going that we see. And then but compare that to what we see in the video.
Right. And that, and there are, I mean, don't get us wrong, there are other ways they get in. They just don't apply here. We have no fleeing felon. We have no plain view. We have no, I don't know, someone screaming, flush the drugs down the toilet.
Sure.
I mean, there's nothing that gets them in. But we have the person who we believe to be the alleged victim of the assault standing there in perfect health saying, we're not doing anything wrong. What are you doing? Get out of here. Which I don't see how that gets them in for exigent circumstances to protect her because she's fine.
Right. So, think about if someone said, I've been shot, and the police rush in, or someone says, I'm
Help me, he's going to kill me.
help me, he's going to kill me. I'm hiding in a closet. All right. I got that. We don't seem to have that here.
No, we do not. Which you can tell because they're not going inside initially.
Yeah, that's a good tip off. The police, if they think they have the authority to do something like kick down your door and drag you out of your house, usually they're not asking you to come out.
Correct.
And that's ultimately what happens here. Let's check out clip 3.
You people are wrong, man. I have not done nothing to nobody.
Stand up.
Don't touch me.
Stand
Don't touch me, man.
Back up.
I haven't broken
Move
no
him.
law.
Bring him to me.
This is my son.
Stand
This is my son. Don't touch my son.
Stand up.
Don't touch my son.
So when we talk about people's rights being violated, warrantless entry into a house, arresting someone, what kind of issues does that raise at trial?
Well, lots. So the state is going to have to prove that entry fell under an exception to the warrant requirement. So, I mean, if we're giving advice here about how to protect yourself in this situation, step 1, don't say anything that sounds like consent to enter. And that guy does a good job with that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I
It is
mean,
not consensual.
Get out of here, MFers is a pretty good firm statement that you're not giving consent.
And it's really important because, again, the police violate your rights. Consent, that's one of those overwhelming things that just kind of undoes all of the bad acts by the police. So not consenting to the search, not consenting to the seizure. There's different ways of articulating that. I don't consent to any searches. I don't consent to any seizures. Or, I don't consent to this, but I'm not going to interfere with y'all's executing of what you're purporting. I mean, you doesn't sound like you have a warrant, but I'm not going to stop you. There's lots of different ways to
you don't even
accomplish
get fancy. No, you can't come in.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
But I think, what other things can folks do to protect their rights in this situation?
The most important thing, and of course we don't have the video after this, but the most important thing that man can do and you can do is you got to stop talking at that point. And he's worked up. I would be too. Someone kicks down my door and insists on arresting me for something that is just a complete surprise. But remember that all of those just sua sponte statements that you are giving, that he is giving. I mean, frankly, the fact that he is aggressively yelling at the police, the prosecutors will try to use that as evidence of his, his violent nature. I mean, there's all sorts of things. So remember, smile for the camera, right? I mean, you are, being recorded. Everything that you are doing, saying is going to be used against you, even though you haven't been Mirandized, because it's all coming sua sponte, and they're not interrogating you, right? You're just screaming at them for being jerks.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen, the police do something wrong. They do a warrantless search, or they do a warrantless seizure, or they are messing with somebody and maybe they place them in detention and they think that they're being arrested, and then the person fights back or physically resists, or, well, then you get a real charge. and it really doesn't matter if they violated your rights prior to that. And so I'd say that's kind of another pitfall people fall into. I mean, the place to fight this stuff is inside of a courtroom.
Yes. And like, I know we have a lot of people who comment who are like, physically resist bad cops. No, dog. I mean, truly, because number one, that's a good way to get yourself very seriously injured or killed. Number two, yes, if you are physically resisting, you will get charged with a different crime. There is no better advice we can give you than, yeah, this stuff sucks. Let the attorney win the fight in the courtroom, because you are never going to win it on the side of the road. They have all the power. I mean, in this case, side of the house, right? But they have all the power. You're not going to convince that guy he's in the wrong. You're going to convince a judge later that he's in the wrong. And not a perfect answer, but the best one we got.
1776. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And definitely leave us the angry comments about how we're not telling you to resist. Until next time, we're the Arms Journeys.